that's a wrap. It was an amazing experience. Hope everybody enjoyed it. Hope we got some laughs, some good entertainment.
This is Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game.
DiVincenzo as Williams hustles back on defense, gets the ball to Looney. The Thompson fades left off the screen and buried him. There is number 300 on the season for Klay Thompson. His 303 to make it 23-14. Warriors on top. He's got 17.
Yeah, Klay Thompson came out smoking. The Warriors came out smoking, and they handled business here over the 48 minutes in Portland against the woefully shorthanded Blazers. And I don't know if it was a statement win, but it was a not messing around win for the Golden State Warriors as they put up 55 in the first quarter, outscoring the Blazers 55-27, the most points scored in a first quarter in NBA history. You had Klay Thompson coming out, and within the first 5 minutes, he had knocked down the threes that he needed, the 5 threes that he needed to be able to get to that 300 mark for the season. He ends up 6 of 11 from 3 overall, and the Warriors just able to put this thing on cruise control in a game they led by as many as 59 points. They never trailed, and they qualify for the playoffs with the victory, 157-101, a 56-point win in game number 82 for the Warriors. As we welcome you inside Warriors Wrap-Up here on 95.7 The Game, it's John Dickinson with you for the next hour or so. 888-957-9570, 888-957-9570, and it's going to be the Warriors and the Sacramento Kings playing against each other in the first round of the playoffs. It was nip and tuck throughout the whole afternoon as far as the other games go. Zero drama as far as the Warriors and Blazers, with Golden State handling their business to lock up either the 5th or the 6th spot. They were going to be in the top 6 just by virtue of the win. And then all eyes turned to what would the Clippers do in Phoenix. And the Clippers trailed for a good chunk of that game, and Phoenix was playing their bench guys. There was no Durant. There was no Chris Paul. There was no Devin Booker. There was no DeAndre Ayton. Even guys like TJ Warren were sitting out for Phoenix, but Phoenix led for a good chunk the entire first half, and toward the end of the third quarter and early fourth quarter, but the Clippers were able to come back, and the Clippers won that game to secure the 5 seed. And there was some question, could the Clippers maybe manipulate things depending upon what happened in the Pelicans-Minnesota game? Well, the Pelicans led in Minnesota most of the afternoon, but Minnesota was able to rally and get the victory in that matchup. And so it was close enough to where the Clippers, and close enough in terms of timing where the Clippers couldn't try to manipulate their way, even if they wanted to, out of a matchup against Phoenix, to give the Warriors that matchup and potentially try to line up a matchup against the Kings as well. But they would have fallen out of the top 6 if they had done that and the Pelicans won. And again, it was just all too tight to manipulate. And so the Suns with Kawhi Leonard down the stretch got put away by the Clippers. And so the Clippers wind up 5, the Warriors wind up 6. So setting the table for the first round matchups, the Nuggets and Grizzlies will await the play-in tournament as the 1 and the 2 seeds. You've got the Warriors and Kings in the 6-3. You've got the Clippers and the Suns in the 5-4 slot. And the Lakers and Timberwolves are going to be one of the play-in tournament games. That's the 7-8 game, with the Pelicans falling to 9 by virtue of their loss to Minnesota, and the Thunder 10. So the 9-10 game in the Western Conference is the Pelicans and the Thunder, as things went right down to the final minutes. High drama in Minneapolis and Phoenix, while the Warriors were on cruise control up in the Pacific Northwest. So Golden State wins it to improve to 44-38. They get the 6 seed. Clippers take the 5 by virtue of the divisional record tiebreaker over the Warriors. And I think if you're a Warriors fan, you got to be pretty happy with the way things worked out, all told. In a season full of ups and downs for the defending champ, going all the way back to training camp and the punch with Draymond Green on Jordan Poole and the 3-7 start, and his team couldn't win a road game until damn near the end of November. And Andrew Wiggins goes down at the All-Star break due to the personal issues. Steph Curry was in and out of the lineup multiple times with the Warriors trying to hang on and be able to do just enough to stay afloat in a couple of lengthy month-long stretches without Steph. The Warriors were able to do that. And the question all year was really, could they cobble it together and do enough to get everybody back and on the same page for a postseason run? And wouldn't you know, similarly to last year, Andrew Wiggins is now back in the fold. He'll have a week to get himself ramped up, and the Warriors are maybe the healthiest that they've been at any point this season at the time where you want to be as healthy and as whole as you could be, and that is going into the playoffs, game one. If you want to react to today's game, and it was just absurd the way the Warriors were able to put it on the Blazers and handle their business in a much, much more effective manner than they did the other night in Sacramento, although as we talked about on Warriors Live, the team that the Blazers were putting out there was sad, and that group, to their credit, had competed at a much higher level in games recently, but there was a defending champs with a purpose, not going to slip into the play-in tournament feel to what the Warriors were trying to accomplish there. There were personal agendas on display with Klay, but the personal agendas were helping fit the team agenda because Klay was on one, and on one early, to the tune of, just an awe-dropping display, what the Warriors did in that first quarter, regardless of who they did it against. That was the quarter of the season that the Warriors saved for their final regular season first quarter of the regular season. So impressive stuff. If you want to get in on the matchup with Sacramento, something that we're going to be talking a lot about here on 95.7 The Game throughout the course of the next week. We do not know the schedule yet. The one thing that we can tell you, of course, is that series will begin at Golden One Center in Sacramento either Saturday or Sunday of next weekend. So the Warriors are going to get at least 5, if not 6 days off to prepare for that series. And from that point forward, and I referenced this a little bit on Twitter right before we started the show, last year the schedule did come out within a half hour or so for the game ones. Like, are you going to be playing Saturday or Sunday? So obviously we'll pass that along once we know when game one will be for the Warriors and the Kings. But the full schedule for the entire series has not been released. And last year, not to say that this is a template for how it's 100% going to be this year, but last year the schedule was not released until after the play-in tournament games on Tuesday, the 7-8 games, and then they released the full schedule for all of the rounds. So if anything happens here over the course of the next hour, we will make sure and get that to you here on 95.7 The Game. But I would expect, given the way the league has done it in recent years and including last year, I would expect that we probably will know coming up here between now and 4:30 whether the Warriors and Kings are going to begin on Saturday and or Sunday in Sacramento. So 888-957-9570, 888-957-9570. That is the number to give me a call or shoot me a text here on Warriors Wrap Up on 95.7 The Game. Warriors finished 44-38. They've won 8 of their last 10 for Golden State. So you could make a case this is their best stretch of basketball, at least one of them that they've played this season. And so you could also make the case that the Warriors are playing their best basketball of the season when you look at their overall record and the fact that they are 6 games over 500 at this point. High watermark for Golden State at the end of the year. They'll take on a Sacramento team that lost today. They played their starters basically some preseason level of minutes today and then sat them out, and Denver's backups beat essentially the Kings backups. So Sacramento ended up 48-34, so a 4-game separation between those two teams in the standings. An odd season series. These teams played 3 times in the first 3 weeks of the regular season, and the Warriors won 2 out of 3, with the home team winning each of those first 3. But I don't think there's a lot to glean from any of the 4 head-to-head matchups, even though the Warriors did take the season series 3-1. essentially the first three were all when the Warriors were viewed as the defending champions and not the more mid-level type team that the Warriors played like for an extended portion of the regular season. And nobody knew back in October and early November that the Kings were going to be anything close to what they wound up being for this 2022-23 season. And so I think you almost throw all 4 games out as far as that goes. That was the bad Kings before anybody knew they were good, and it was the Warriors before anybody knew that they were going to have a struggle of a regular season to the tune that they wound up having the struggle being. And so I think when you look at those matchups, you do have to throw the head-to-heads out. Obviously, the Kings are having a historic season in terms of offense. Top offensive rated team in the last 49 years in the NBA. They shoot the three. They move the ball. They've got a quick point guard in De'Aaron Fox, who's been Mr. Fourth Quarter in the NBA this year. Domantas Sabonis is somebody that's been, I think, an all-NBA level type player. He's probably going to be all-NBA third team at the center position behind Embiid and Jokic, who in some order will be 1 and 2. And De'Aaron Fox, I think, has got some action potentially to be an all-NBA team member on the back end as well. So 2 players that have played at an extremely high level. They added Kevin Huerter in the offseason. They drafted Keegan Murray, so a couple of shooters to go with the Fox-Sabonis pairing. Old buddy Harrison Barnes is going to be playing in his first playoff game since Game 7 of the 2016 NBA Finals over at Oracle. I know Warrior fans remember how not only that game, but that series ended not just for Golden State, but for Harrison Barnes with his awful numbers in Game 5, 6, and 7 of that series as the Warriors blew the 3-1 lead to Cleveland. And, of course, Barnes wound up being someone that went away for the Warriors to bring in Kevin Durant and be able to sign him back in that 2016 summer. Well, Barnes hasn't been in the playoffs. He went to Dallas, then got traded to Sacramento, and hasn't sniffed the playoffs at all since that Game 6 of the 2016 finals. And so his first game back in the postseason is going to be against his former mates and that championship core going back, hard to believe, 7 years ago. We're coming up on that series in 2016. And, of course, Mike Brown, the associate head coach for the Warriors these last couple of years, is now the head coach of the Kings, and he's going to be hands down the NBA Coach of the Year, given what the Kings have done in being widely believed to be the most improved team. I don't think there's any doubt they're the most improved team from where they were last year to this year. So it's going to be a fun series. There's going to be a lot of offense. There's going to be a ton of storylines. There's going to be the back and forth of fans going into both arenas. I know the Kings are going to be playing their first playoff game in 17 years. You go back to 2006. Be a lot of Warrior fans, I would expect, inside Golden One Center. I know Draymond Green has mentioned the fact that he wanted to play Sacramento, not that he believes they're an easy opponent by any means, but the travel, the travel part of it as well. And by the way, it has just been announced that the Warriors and the Kings are going to start Saturday at 5:30 on ABC. Saturday at 5:30 on ABC. Let's get to the phones. Go to Joe in San Francisco here on 95.7 The Game.
Hey JD. It's been a long and winding road for this season, but I just have 2 points. Those of us who are the flip the switch theorists, we're going to find out really quickly, midway first game, third quarter or so, if this kind of concept of can you flip the switch and, things are going to be different, or if this team has the structural problems that they've showed the entire year. Second thing is, I think the only thing fundamentally structurally different between last year's this team and this year's is Otto Porter. Otto Porter versus DiVincenzo. And some matchups you'd wish you'd have Porter. Some matchups you want DiVincenzo. So I have no idea how this is going to go, but what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think you're right. The as far as the Warriors go and their matchups, I mean, figuring out who the rotation is going to be key. Figuring out how to play, how to integrate Wiggins, I think, is a big part of it, but how to reintegrate Wiggins and then figure out what that means to DiVincenzo and what DiVincenzo going back to the bench, if that's the way the Warriors choose to do it, how does that impact Jordan Poole? How does Wiggins being back impact Jonathan Kuminga? Kuminga, I think, impacts Gary Payton II because they both play similar roles on this team. And finding that 8-9 man combination, I think, is going to be critical for Steve Kerr and finding just mapping all of that out is going to be critical. I think the Kings are going to have, and you're going to hear a lot about this over the next week. The Kings are going to have the least experience of any other playoff team, and obviously they're going up against the team that has the most experience. That's going to be one of the that's one of the bullet point, talking point headlines as far as that goes. But the Kings, I think, garner the Warriors' attention. Like I think because of Mike Brown, because of the season they've had, I don't think the Warriors are going to be thinking, hey, they can mess around and not play an A-level game to beat this Sacramento team. I really do believe that. They're not going to have home court advantage for what will be just the fourth time in the Steve Kerr era. And again, it's different not having the home court advantage in this series, maybe compared to some other series. But I think what Steve Kerr always talks about, the appropriate fear in play, I think that's what's that's what's the key for the Warriors in this thing. And yeah, we'll find out, because I think the speed at which the Kings play, the ball movement at which the Kings play, they try to lull you into taking bad shots and turning the ball over, and the way that the Kings play can be susceptible, make the Warriors susceptible to their weakest points, turnovers. Although the Kings don't really defend well, but unforced turnovers are typically the order of the day when the Warriors are turning it over. A lot of the times it isn't defensive pressure. It's just the Warriors are turning it over. And you do that against the Kings, you do that and take bad shots and they run it back the other way on you, they can put a 45 or a 50 on you in a quarter. And they've done that to teams all year where they just explode. They can match your 18 to 20 three-pointers a game as well, which is something that the Warriors are going to have to be able to withstand. And they're going to have to play a real good button-up. This is not a cakewalk picnic series for the Warriors. No doubt about it. 888-957-9570, 888-957-9570. It's John Dickinson here on Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game. Let's go to Rich in Fremont next here on Warriors Wrap-Up. What's up, Rich?
Hey, what's up, JD? Thanks for taking my call. Hey, you know what? I think you're spot on, too, when you said it's not going to be a cakewalk. I think this could be a very dangerous series for Golden State because of the fact that you have to look at the fact that Mike Brown knows that team. He knows what Kerr likes to do. If he brings their A game, which I'm sure they will in this series, this is a series that could go 7. And if it does, that could be a problem for Golden State because of the fact that Golden State, even though they are a good team and they're a playoff team, they're also much older. And so because they are much older, having stamina down the stretch could come into question on this one. Thanks a lot, JD. Have a good day.
No, I appreciate it. And I'm interested to see, and like I said, the Game 1 schedule is out, and we'll see if more of the schedule does get released here over the course of the next hour, as I'm going to be on the air till about 4:30 here. But I'm interested to see, and I tweeted it out, late in games, the Kings have been excellent. I think part of the reason they're excellent late in games is because they put pressure on you throughout the game. They basically run their open offense with everything going through Sabonis for 3 quarters, and then in the fourth quarter they let Fox try to take it over, and he's been the best fourth quarter scorer in the league and one of the most clutch players in the NBA this season. You're going to have to be there. I guess the best way to put it, Rich, is there are going to be times if the Warriors aren't buttoned up and sharp in this series where the Kings can make the Warriors look a little bit old. I think but where the Warriors have the advantage is if they take smart shots and they run their offense and they attack the rim and they don't turn it over carelessly. If they play a buttoned-up playoff-style Warrior game, I do think the Warriors win this series. And when you start to factor in the whole notion of, well, would you have rather played Phoenix or would you have rather played Sacramento? To me, it was a no-brainer you'd rather play Sacramento. And again, that doesn't mean that it's going to be a picnic by any means, but if you're going to play, if you'd rather play the team that has the least amount of experience, that's going to be trying to gather and gain their bearings as the playoffs begin, when you've seen it all, from Game 7s on the road to Boston in an NBA Finals to Toronto in an NBA Finals to Memphis last year, which was a wild and raucous crowd. Like the Warriors have seen it all. So you'd much rather have that advantage, but the only way the veteran advantage works for the Warriors is if they play like veterans and not do some of the careless things that they've done all year. I mean, this is the Warriors, you could make the case, best, most complete team that they have had this season at any point. Now that they've got Gary Payton back and in the rotation, Kuminga's come along to a point where he has looked playable and impactful over the last month to 6 weeks. You're getting Wiggins back. DiVincenzo's been a factor. Like I think you got to feel really good about where the Warriors are at. And then you look at that side of the bracket, the 3-6 side of the bracket. You've got Memphis on that side, if you can get by the Kings. And then you've got the Lakers potentially, if the Lakers win their play-in game against Minnesota, which I would think the Lakers would win their play-in game against Minnesota. And by the way, Minnesota, there was all kinds of drama going on with Minnesota today. You had Rudy Gobert take a swing at Kyle Anderson in the huddle. This is while they were losing to the Pelicans. They came back and won the game. Jaden McDaniels punched a wall or a garbage can or something in the tunnel and broke his hand, reportedly. And so, I mean, Minnesota won the battle but may lose the war because they couldn't control their tempers in the game that they wound up winning, but were down there. But then you've got the Lakers, which wouldn't be a picnic, obviously, in the second round if you're the Warriors, but it also is the potential to, hey, if the Lakers somehow knock Memphis out, then you've got home court advantage in a second round series. If you're the 6 and the Lakers are the 7, and you also filter Denver and Phoenix and the Clippers. If the Clippers get their act together and make a run, you filter them to the other half of the bracket as well, which I think is something that the Warriors would benefit from. 888-957-9570. Mike in San Jose here before we pause on 95.7 The Game. What's going on, Mike?
Nothing much, man. I just have to disagree with the last caller saying that the Warriors wouldn't be able to go to a 7-game series and they would be tired and whatnot. They pretty much took off the whole season, or half the season, with all these road games that they lost. I mean, I'm pretty sure that they saved their energy for situations like the entire playoffs that are coming. So I expect Chris Blake, regardless of the dude's age, whether it's our youngs or our olds, we're ready to go. And I think that win over the Blazers right now just kind of proved that. Thanks.
Yeah, appreciate that. Like, I don't know. There's times this year where it's looked really hard for the Warriors. Like, they've, even on Friday night in Sacramento, as they're playing against the Kings backups, Steph and Clay, they look like they're just grinding. And so I don't know that they took the season off and they're necessarily feeling fresh now. But I'll say this, you get this week off to recalibrate and bring Wiggins back and to plan out how you want to handle things to lead up to Saturday night at 5:30 in Golden One Center. And you got action in a big time way at that particular point in time. So I think when we'll see. I don't think they've been saving up. I do think they're a year older. I do think they're probably going to be more tested this year than they were last year. This first round series against Sacramento, in my mind, is going to be a more difficult first round series than last year's series was against Denver. I really do. And I know a lot of those games are close. Denver didn't have Porter Jr. and Murray. Jokic was the MVP. But this Kings team, I think top to bottom, is similar record-wise than that Denver team was. It's funny, a 3 seed this year is basically kind of what a 6 seed last year was, within a game or two range. But I think when you look at it, the Warriors are going to be tested at a level to where these series, even this first one, are going to take something out of them. And I think that's where the travel component comes in, and you like the fact that you can take the bus back, and we'll see how the games are spread out. I think that's going to be key. I know the Warriors have had a pretty favorable first-round schedule in terms of games being spread out in the past. We'll see what happens as far as that goes for this year. 888-957-9570. We'll go ahead and pause here. We'll hear from Steve Kerr. We'll hear from Klay Thompson. We'll come back. We'll get you all the matchups for all the series that are going to be going on in the NBA. But let's react to this one. Are the Warriors playing their best basketball of the season right now going into the playoffs? And how do you feel about the matchup against the Kings versus what could have been a matchup against the Suns had things gone a different way? It's Warriors wrap-up here on 95.7 The Game.
U.S. Bank is ranked #1 in customer satisfaction with retail banking in California by J.D. Power. Since California is home to most award shows, we've prepared a thank you speech.
To Californians everywhere, we've been proud to help you plan, budget, and save smarter. Our goal tracking and budgeting tools would have no place to shine if it weren't for you, and we can't thank you enough for that. And thank you to our real-life humans who go above and beyond for our customers every day.
Bravo, U.S. Bank! Bravo!
For J.D. Power 2023 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. Member FDIC.
When I can't sleep, my mind just races. I think about work, the kids, but I don't think about taking melatonin because I'm afraid I'll feel groggy in the morning.
ZzzQuil Pure Z's Gummies has an optimal dose of melatonin for no next-day grogginess, so you can fall asleep naturally and wake up feeling refreshed. ZzzQuil Pure Z's Gummies for better sleep like never before. And try Pure Z Sleep Plus Next Day Energy with melatonin plus extended release B vitamins.
For the ones finding new ways to ensure the job always gets done. For the ones wearing many hats. For the ones who are hands-on, even from far away. And the ones keeping business moving forward. We are Grainger, offering professional-grade industrial supplies, plus real-time product availability and access to experts ready to answer your toughest questions. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Proposition Chicken is the iconic business with deep ties to our community. Our 9 Bay Area locations are open for lunch and dinner 7 days a week. Proposition Chicken serves delicious comfort food from renowned chef Ari Feingold. Chicken served fried, flipped, and fake, enhanced with our homemade sauces. Visit us in our Oakland and San Francisco locations every Monday, where we donate 10% of dine-in sales to a different nonprofit partner each month. Proposition Chicken. Dine in, pick up, or cater. Visit one of our 9 Bay Area locations today or right now at propositionchicken.com.
This is Flea for This Little Light, a podcast about falling in love with music. I started a nonprofit music school about 20 years ago called the Silver Lake Conservatory of Music. The reason that I started doing this podcast was music education. I'll be speaking with Rick Rubin, Thundercat, Stuart Copeland, Margot Price, Corey Henry, Cynthia Erivo, Sheila E., and Patty Smith.
Please listen and follow This Little Light, a presentation of Cadence 13 on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Discover credit cards automatically double all the cash back you earn at the end of your first year, which means... Wait, hold up. Question?
12 3-pointers in the first quarter, 12 of 18 from 3, 20 of 29 overall. So they were 8 of 11 from 2, 12 of 18 from 3, got to the free throw line a couple of times and didn't trail, led by as many as 28, their largest lead there. And Klay Thompson, incredible in the first quarter, 5 of 8 from 3. He was hunting the threes that he needed, and he needed 5 of them to get to 300, finish the game with 6 as the Warriors roll, and they got a little bit of help from the Clippers, who couldn't try to manipulate things, I think, because that Timberwolves-Pelicans game was so close at the same time. Had they wanted to try to maybe put themselves in position to play Sacramento. So the Clippers just held on, got the win against the Suns backups. And so it'll be the Clippers and the Suns in the first round, and it'll be the Warriors and the Kings. A matchup some would call 38 years in the making. The Kings moving from Kansas City to Sacramento back in 1985. And in no year since the Kings moved to Sacramento have the Kings and Warriors been in the playoffs in the same year. The Kings haven't been in it since the year before, we believe, going back to 2006, but never have both teams been good at the same time in 38 years. So in the playoffs for the first time in 38, at the same time, the two Northern California squads, and they will face each other in that series beginning on Saturday night at Golden One Center in Sacramento. 5:30 Saturday night on ABC, and of course, right here on 95.7 The Game. We'll get to the secret sauce and the hardest working player coming up, but let's get back to the phones at 888-957-9570, and that's where Robin joins the conversation here. What's going on, Robin? Happy Easter.
Happy Easter. Let me turn my radio down. So, JD, 3 things here. I'm going to turn the air conditioner off. I'm sorry, 3 things. This is the last game. And I just want to know if you're going to be around. I don't do Instagram and all that, so I don't follow you that way. But, you know, I'm always looking for you. Remember I told you I discovered all these JDs and that I hopefully use your middle initial. So I'd like to know if you can, where you're going to be, what you're going to be doing, and how we're going to, can listen to you, what you're going to be doing on 95.7 The Game. And then second of all, I'd like to just say that I think that the Warriors really, I want to know your opinion in terms of how you think, when Wiggins comes back and then, all these lineup changes, rotation changes, sometimes it takes time to get in rhythm, to get in sync. And given where we are, they don't really have time to mess around, to get into sync. So I just want to hear your opinion on that. Lastly, I do really think that Jordan Poole might be a big factor in this game, or he has to be, but I don't know if that responsibility should be put on him given where he's at in his development. But I think he's the one guy who has the speed and has the talent that could match those young players of the Kings. And wanted to get your opinion on all 3 of that. Peace out, and it's been great listening to you this season. Bye-bye.
I'll appreciate it, Robin. Thank you so much, and we appreciate you listening, and we appreciate you calling. And I'm not going anywhere. We're going to have Warriors this week, Saturday from 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. from Sacramento. I don't know exactly where I'm going to be in Sacramento, but I'll be from Sacramento with Whitey. Warriors this week from 10 until 1 on Saturday. I'm probably going to be on different shows all week, popping in here and there, talking about this series. And I will also be on pre and post game for the duration as far as the Warriors go. If it's the first round or they make a trek all the way to the NBA Finals again or somewhere in between, I'll be there. I'm going to be covering this team on the road no matter where they go. Short trip round 1, but if it's Memphis in round 2 or LA, or if they're fortunate enough to go to Phoenix or Denver in a Western Conference Finals, Boston or Milwaukee or Philly or somewhere in the finals, I am along for the ride for the duration of this season. So I'm looking forward to that. And you'll know where to find me, Robin. You'll know where to find me before and after every one of these games here. As far as the Warriors go, Jordan Poole point. He's got to be better than he was Friday night. The bad Jordan Poole is the type of player that absolutely will get you wrecked against the Kings. The good Jordan Poole is the type of player, because he can get to the basket. The Kings don't have interior rim protection. They're vulnerable to fouling inside. They are vulnerable to teams that can hit them with passes and cuts in the lane. Like I think Jordan Poole can be a big-time factor attacking the basket as long as he can do it without turning it over and finishing, which was something he didn't do really at all, although he did get to the free throw line on Friday night. So I think he can be a factor in this series, but he's got to play well. As far as getting into a rhythm and getting into sync, and it's going to take time, and Wiggins is coming back, and how do you sort through the rotation and who's going to be starting and all of that, that's where the Warriors winning today is such a big advantage, because they now can take tomorrow off and have all of their film guys and assistant coaches and everybody get locked in on Sacramento for a day, and then they'll hit the practice court on Tuesday, and they'll be able to do as much. They can do a couple practice, take a day off, have another practice. They can do a practice, have a film day, have a couple of practices leading into. They can have as many as 3 practices if they want, and a couple of good film days to prepare for Sac. And that's one of the things that I think, just the juice of being in a playoff series. I think the Warriors are going to relish the lack of travel in this series. I think that's something, Draymond spoke to that point, but I also think they're going to have a shot to get whatever they want their playoff group for this series to be, the 8, 9, 10 players that are going to play the most amount of minutes. I think they've got this week now to line it up however the heck they want to line it up. And I think that gives the Warriors an advantage. And I would say that my hunch would be that the Warriors end up putting Wiggins back in the starting lineup. And that doesn't mean he's going to play 35 minutes a game, but I do think he can get back out there and at least start to play, whether maybe it's 20 to 25 minutes, and you pencil the rotation and around it, but you can plan it all out however you want to plan it all out. And as he eases back into game action, you can increase his minutes, or you never know. Maybe they think his conditioning will be at a point where you can push it to 25 or 30. They're going to have to keep an eye on him once he gets in games. But I would think, because that starting group of Steph, Clay, Draymond, Wiggins, and Looney have been so critical, I would think that the Warriors would, knowing that they have the 5 days to gear up and knowing that Looney has to start against Sabonis because they have a traditional big man that can score the basketball, I think the Warriors are going to lean toward putting Wiggins into the starting lineup and carving out Poole and DiVincenzo and Peyton II and Kuminga roles off of that. But it's a nice luxury to have now, to know that you've at least got 5 days not only to practice but to map everything out. 888-957-9570. Jerry and Martinez, back to the phones we go here on Warriors Wrap Up. What's going on, Jerry?
Hey, not much. Thanks for taking my call. Hey, I totally agree with you, man. I think we're going to be super hyped coming out of the gates against the Kings. It's going to be huge. I mean, the boost of Wiggins coming back, the way we played today, Gary Payton, and that's where I think Wiggins is going to start, and I think his impact is going to be on defense and taking on De'Aaron Fox, that engine, for the Kings, because if we can throw GP 90 feet at him, Wiggins, and a combination of everybody else. We're going to do, maybe we can frustrate him like we frustrated Luka last year, Tatum in the finals. I think throwing multiple bodies and being able to do that is going to be huge. But thanks for taking my call, and happy Easter, man.
Yeah, happy Easter to you, brother. Appreciate it. Jerry Martinez checking in. Yeah, the Warriors fully loaded here have a bunch of different bodies they can throw at Fox. And I think Wiggins would be the primary off the top. And you can throw Gary Payton II on him. I think you could throw DiVincenzo on him a little bit. I think you could throw Kuminga on him in a little bit of a specified role if somebody gets in foul trouble, or you just want to have somebody hound him. The Warriors do have some options for Fox. I also wonder, because the Kings play kind of an open, through Sabonis type of an offense in the first 3 quarters of games, I wonder if the Warriors look to try to do with Fox what they've done to Ja Morant and others, and James Harden, Russell Westbrook in the past, almost make those guys try to take the game over from the jump, because Sabonis really is the guy that gets him. Sabonis and Fox both get a lot of paint points, but Sabonis is the guy who gets Herter in the game, who gets Harrison Barnes in the game, who gets Keegan Murray in the game with the passing and the ball movement. And it can at times look similar to the Warriors. I know Steve Kerr compared it to the offense that the Warriors would run when they would hit Bogut in the high post a lot and cut off. I mean, these two teams in some ways mirror each other somewhat in the shooting, ball movement, want to play with pace, big men who can pass the basketball. Type of ways. And so how the Warriors deal with that, I think, is going to be critical in this series to them winning this series. But having bodies on Fox, different combinations that you can throw at him, I think is huge. And then you got to be able to get back out to shooters. None of this helping lazily or helping off the wrong spot. Like the stopping the dribble penetration is going to have to be on point in this series for the Warriors, because you start helping off of guys. The Kings have a bunch of dudes that can stripe it from three, from Keegan Murray to Kevin Herter to old buddy Harrison Barnes can knock down a corner three, and even Malik Monk has the potential to be a wild card off the bench. Trey Lyles is a stretch four that they use. Sometimes they use Chimezi Metu, who can be a stretch five and hit some threes and be active on the glass. The Warriors are going to have to be buttoned up, but they do have the bodies, I think, against Fox. And then you have to figure out who's going to be the finisher, because Fox looks to take the game over down the stretch, and that's why the Kings have been so successful. They have won a lot of games this year because they have been very good in close games and overtime games and the like over the course of the season. In fact, they've won a lot of the games, especially on the road. They've won a lot of the 50-50 games that the Warriors have lost on the road, and that's why you look at them and they ended up separated by just the 4 games. All right, let's pause here for our station ID at the top of the 4 o'clock hour.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM in HD1 San Francisco. Always live on Twitch, YouTube, and the free Odyssey app.
All right, Warriors wrap up, rolling on here. Dubs get it done over the Blazers to finish the season 44-38. 157-101 is the final. Monster first quarter from Klay Thompson. Steph poured in his 26 in 22 minutes. Big games from Moses Moody as he got some run with the game out of hand. In this one, Jonathan Kuminga, what a dunk from Kuminga in his 24 minutes, putting in 15 points. And Jordan Poole, an efficient and effective game for Jordan Poole against the Blazers backups as the Warriors secure their spot as a top 6 team, and the Clippers win over the Suns late means that the Warriors are going to take on the Sacramento Kings in the first round of the playoffs. Again, Game 1 is Saturday. I want to let everybody know Game 1 is Saturday at Golden One Center in Sacramento. We'll keep you posted on the playoff schedule moving forward off of that, although, again, the league did not announce the remainder of the games for the first round last season until Tuesday. And so I know a lot of people are going to want to know, hey, when's that first game at Chase going to be? But Game 1 Saturday, that means Game 2 in Sacramento is going to be either Monday or Tuesday. And then at that point, Game 3 potentially could be Thursday or Friday of next week as well. And then Game 4 obviously could be at some point Saturday or Sunday. The NBA has liked to put the Warriors in that Saturday slot for Game 1. They've also, the last 2 times they've been in the playoffs, liked to put them in the Sunday slot the second weekend, the 12:30 slot. So 2 weeks from today, I wouldn't be surprised if, no matter how they get there, whether it's Saturday, Tuesday for 1 and 2, and then Friday, Sunday for 3 and 4 at Chase, or if they do the Thursday, Sunday as they've done the last couple of times the Warriors made it, including last year with the 2 games in Denver. I would think that Game 4 is probably going to be 2 weeks from today at 12:30 on ABC at Chase Center. But again, nothing official beyond Game 1 at this point. Let's get to the secret sauce of the game. Why did the Warriors win or lose? Secret sauce brought to you by Proposition Chicken. And the first quarter was the secret sauce for the Warriors. The not-so-secret sauce come out and absolutely drub this Portland team from the beginning. And the Warriors did just that, shooting 69% from the field, 12 of 18 from 3. Klay Thompson, 17 in the first quarter on 6 of 9 shooting and 5 of 8 from 3-point range. The Warriors getting it done quick, fast, and in a hurry to the tune of a 55-27 lead at the end of one up in Portland. That, the secret sauce for the Warriors in this one, brought to you by Proposition Chicken. This chicken goes 3 ways: fried, flipped, and fake. Now available in 9 Bay Area locations, or you can order now at propositionchicken.com. That's propositionchicken.com. 888-957-9570. Let's go ahead and hear from the head coach of the Warriors, Steve Kerr, as he met with the media from Moda Center in Portland.
To know you guys had to have one of these today, and to see how your team responds, force they came out with, how sharp they were. How does that translate heading into the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great sign. I mean, we've played really well overall last couple of weeks. I think we won 8 of our last 10, if I'm not mistaken. And today was, our guys were locked in right from the beginning. They knew what was at stake and controlled the game from the opening tap. And hopefully that carries over to next week. But most importantly, after a really long and in many ways tumultuous season, we got where we needed to get, and that's into the playoffs, and we've got a chance, and that's all we were hoping for.
I saw play get it done right away. 300.
Yeah, I pulled Clay aside 2 minutes before the game, and I said, "Hey, I know you're five away, but just let it happen. It's you don't need to chase anything. Especially early in the game, just get off the ball. Let it happen in the flow." It's like, okay, no problem, coach. And then he made 5 threes in the first 5 minutes. So that's Clay. But they were really good shots. That was the main thing. I mean, he went out launching. They were great shots. It wasn't like he was taking bad ones. So really good for him to get that, get that mark. I told him after the game just how proud I was of him for what he's been through, to go through those 2 devastating injuries and fight his way back, win a championship last year, and then have a great season this year, a complete season, playing back-to-backs by this, the end of the year. And it's really a remarkable story, a testament to Clay and his fortitude and his love for the game, and couldn't be happier for Clay.
What was this overall for the team?
What I just said to you guys, that it's been a rough year in a lot of ways, and they should feel really proud for making it through and fighting through a lot of adversity to get here. And I also singled out Loon and JP for playing all 82. It's so difficult to play 82 games in an NBA season with all the bumps and bruises and the various forms of adversity that hits you individually. So for Jordan and Loon to be there for us every night was just hugely valuable. And then Loon, I believe, led the league in offensive rebounds. We acknowledge that. Loon has just become such a valuable cornerstone for our team. And, it's everything you sort of hope for when you draft a player is, the development, the work ethic, the approach, the maturity, the leadership. I mean, I think back to when Loon was a rookie and had hip surgery and second-year hip surgery on the other hip. Didn't know if he was going to make it in the league. So to see what he has made of himself and how valuable he's made himself to our franchise and the way he leads, with this quiet dignity. Loon is he's a product of his family and a product of his upbringing, and his character is it's beautiful to watch him go to work every single day.
You said walking in here today felt a little bit like Selection Sunday just now. Can you just take us into the locker room a little bit, watching those final minutes of the Kings Suns game and now the React?
With those games still going on, our guys, we had both games on in the locker room. I was watching the Masters, and important things, first things first. But no, we had both games on, and we were just trying to figure out who was going where. It was a crazy day. You just don't see this in the NBA, where the fate of 4 or 5 teams is literally still up in the air on the final day of the season. So it did feel like Selection Sunday, and we got a 6th seed in the West region, so we're very happy about that.
Yeah, and so 6th seed in the West region it is for the Warriors and for Steve Kerr and company, and that means they'll play the Sacramento Kings. Travel, not an issue. for the Warriors or the Kings in this series. I do think there's another interesting aspect of this, and so many interesting aspects of it, in that the Warriors have the worst road record of any playoff team in the playoffs, although they've played better of late. They won the last two, although, again, they had a couple of teams not play their main guys against them. But they have won a few road games now here. They won the final two in Houston and Dallas, going back to the prior road trip. But the Warriors have the worst road record of any playoff team. The Kings, though, come in tied for the worst home record of any playoff team. So the Kings are only 23-18 at Golden One Center, and there's going to be a more of a split crowd than there would be in another building, although the Warrior fans have gotten out into everybody's building over this dynastic run that they've been on. But the Kings do have the second best road record of any playoff team. So you've got the Warriors, who were excellent at home, even better home record than they had last year, with Golden State ending up 33-8. But the Kings went 25-16, which by a wide margin in the West. The Kings had the best road record of any playoff team by 4 games over the next closest team, which was the Clippers. Only the Kings and the Clippers had winning road records among the playoff teams in the Western Conference. And you look at the Eastern Conference, the big three in the East all did well on the road, and the Knicks did well on the road in addition to Brooklyn. So there were some teams that were above 500, but only Milwaukee, the Kings played at a Milwaukee, Boston, Philly level on the road this season. And so, they don't have to travel far either. And we'll see if their fans can get into Chase Center. There's so many different fun components to this whole matchup between these two teams that are going to be on display here beginning next Saturday. How many fans can get into Golden One if you're Warrior fans? How many games can get into Chase if you're Kings fans? All of the ties from Harrison Barnes, the former Warrior, to Mike Brown being the former associate head coach. Mike Brown coached the Warriors because Steve Kerr was in the COVID health and safety protocols. Mike Brown last season during the championship run coached the Warriors in playoff games after he had been named the head coach of the Kings. So Mike Brown won games as a head coach for the Warriors in the playoffs while he was technically the head coach of the Kings a year ago, and spending the last 6 years here. Nobody knows the Warriors as well as Mike Brown does, and I think nobody over this run has been able to figure other teams out like the Warriors have. They've been as good at figuring out ways to beat opponents, cleverly throughout the course of a lot of these playoff series and runs and teams that have had very special seasons. Mentioned it earlier, but this is going to be just the 4th time that the Warriors will play without home court advantage in a series in the Steve Kerr era. And of course, the Warriors' 26 consecutive playoff series, every single playoff series where Steph, Clay, and Draymond have been together, they have won a road game in, at least one. And this will be the 4th time that the Warriors will not have home court advantage in a playoff series. You go back the prior 3. Last year, Memphis, the Warriors won Game 1 in Memphis, won the series in 6. In 2019, the Warriors lost to Toronto in Game 1 of the NBA Finals, but they did win Game 2 and Game 5 in Toronto. The story of that series was the Warriors didn't win a game at Oracle, went 0-3 at Oracle in that series to close out Oracle. The Raptors won it 4-2 over at Oracle in Game number 6, the final game ever played there. And then you go back to Houston in 2018 in the Western Conference Finals, and the Warriors didn't have home court advantage in that series. They won Game 1, and then they won Game 7 after dropping one at home. Won Game 7 and the 27 missed consecutive threes by the Rockets as the Warriors went on to the finals and went on to the back-to-back championship in 2018. So it can be done. The Warriors, with the core, different variations of it, have done it. They've won 2 out of 3 series where they haven't had home court advantage in the Steve Kerr era, but in a couple of those, they've gotten off the jump in 2 of the 3. In fact, the 2 that they won, they got out and they won Game 1, as the Warriors have done in a big way in the playoffs under Steve Kerr as well. 888-957-9570. 888-957-9570. It is Warriors wrap-up on 95.7 The Game. Warriors over the Blazers, 157-101, as the Warriors and Kings are set to go at it again Saturday night, Game 1 in Sacramento. Warriors Live will be at 4:30, and I'll be from Golden One Center in Sacramento for that one, and I'll be coming to you Warriors This Week special edition Saturday, 10-1 from Sacramento as well. We'll try to let everybody know where that's going to be. But, yeah, the Warriors and the Kings, Game 1 of the best-of-7 first-round series on Saturday at 5:30 on ABC and on 95.7 The Game. All right, let's get to the hardest working player of the game, which is brought to you by AC Transit.
Fires for three again. He rattled it home. Wow. That's number 4 for Thompson. He's got 14 points in 2 minutes and 37 seconds. 299 threes, and Portland calls time.
Yeah, Klay Thompson getting it done. And how about Steve Kerr saying that, Klay, hey, he had to tell him before the game, relax. He had to tell him, hey, chill out. Don't chase it too hard. And what does Klay do? He goes out and he chases it harder than anything he's chased all year. And that's saying something, because Klay's been thirsty. I mean, you go back and watch some of the games from October and November. Klay's been thirsty all year, hunting shots early in games. And, again, that's something. You play Sacramento, you better make them. Otherwise, they might run you back the other way, get up 20-5 on you, and it's an uphill climb, although they'll probably let you back into the game. The joke as far as the Kings games have gone this year in Sacramento, and I've been up there a lot. On an off night, I do get up there as somebody that covers the NBA, and I probably caught about 20 games on nights where the Warriors didn't play. Basically, every time the Warriors or the Niners didn't play, I went down the road and checked out. Basically, every game is some variation of 95-90 or 100-95 going to the fourth quarter. Like just put 12 minutes on the clock and it's 100-95. Kings are up 5, down 5, whatever it is, and just roll the fourth quarter and let it play from that point on. But yeah, how about Klay? Excellent stuff with Klay Thompson as he goes off and gets to the 300 mark and did it without drama and really did it in truly Klay Thompson fashion. He is the hardest worker of the game. For this one, AC Transit looking for hard workers, offering a $2,000 bonus for new bus operators and journey-level mechanics to join their team. For complete details and to apply, visit actransit.org/careers. That's actransit.org/careers. All right, 888-957-9570. Couple of minutes to go here before we call it an afternoon, but let's hear a couple of minutes of Klay as he met with the media. He always loves playing in Portland. He always likes playing in Sacramento, too. I think he does remember the fact that the Kings are one of the teams that could have drafted him back at 2011. They had the pick right before Klay Thompson ended up being drafted 11 by the Warriors in 2011. But Klay addressed getting to 300 and just his season as he returned and played a full season and back-to-backs and all of that coming off of the 2 injuries.
Playing to with 300 and back within the first 5 minutes off the game. What was that moment like for you? And what it means that you over the season?
I think it's cool to lead the league in threes made, something I never did before. It's a testament to my hard work over the last few years. Some dark times turned into some beautiful moments. And, I usually do what I usually am right about things I say. People might not want to give me credit, but I usually come true.
All around the rest of the Western Conference, some of the teams, second, they were really good on that particular field. At least shut this game,
It was nice, but we're excited that we don't have to play in the play-in game, and we'll figure out what's in store for us next weekend. But I've learned in my time in the NBA that you can't really hope to play somebody. You just got to play whoever's in front of you, and if you have that mindset, you'll be successful.
Before last game in a second, we kind of took in the Warriors fans in Sac. What's that going to be like to you, the kind of the 2 no-call rivalry fan bases?
Oh, that's going to be fun, man. First time in NBA history. It's going to be really special. And I know the Kings fans will be excited. They haven't been in the playoffs in a while, so it'll be very excited. But that's just great. I mean, great for the NBA, great for Northern California, and it's great for us. We don't have to travel too far, which is very nice because sometimes, flying across the country every other day is exhausting.
Well, Kerr would just say how important that is. I mean, how much of a factor that is too, is being able to cut out there compared to going Memphis, Denver.
Yeah. Hey, you can boat from the San Francisco Bay to Sacramento, so don't test me. But it's huge. It is so big. Like, we see a lot of planes, which are fun, but the bus ride kind of gives you the old school vibe of high school and college, and it's just great. It worked out very nicely, and that's a team we greatly respect. They won our division. They have a great coaching staff, great young players, so give them our utmost respect and play our hardest.
How do you feel like the team is ready? It seems like you guys have been playing better lately, 8 wins in 10 games. Andrew's close to coming back. Gary's obviously here now for defensive help. How do you sort of assess where you guys are as you restart here in the playoffs?
Gary's great on offense, too. It's great around the rim, great in the corner, 3-ball. I like where we're at. We're all healthy. So excited to get Wiggs back in the mix. Young guys play great tonight, and this week of preparation is going to be so important for us to keep our conditioning up and our minds fresh. But, people will forever remember what happens in the playoffs, and we've tended to be a great playoff team, so I have no worries, and I'm excited. I mean, it's the best time to be a basketball player professionally.
And I do think the Warriors get some juice from, one, it's the playoffs now, and they've been waiting for this moment basically since June of last year when they won the NBA championship in Boston. When can you get back and feel that energy that comes from a playoff series? They're going to immediately feel challenged, I think, without a doubt, being on the road and going up against Mike Brown on the other side and all of that. So I think they're going to get juice based off of the buzz that's going to be in Sacramento for the Kings' first playoff game in 17 years. Like, I think that gives you added focus. Like, the games for the Warriors will feel massive, and they're going to feel massive for Northern California. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch these two teams go at it. The Kings are kind of the up-and-comers, and the Warriors are the OGs. And, there are some connections in terms of style of play and the like, and so we'll see. What ultimately happens. A couple of text messages to get to on the Comcast Business text line, 510. Do you feel like there's a switch that can be flipped? I don't even think it's about flipping a switch. It's just about playing good basketball. It's like there isn't some magic to it. It's just play well. It's just come out and we're going to find out. You lay it all on the line, and we're going to find out if the Warriors come out and they're carelessly turning it over and unforced errors, and they're not defending because they don't look locked in like it's a regular season game, then they're going to be really vulnerable. If they don't do that, then I think they got a great shot to win this series, and that winds up being a 6-game series, probably, or a 7-game series. I think this is that's one thing I will say for sure. I think this is a 6 or a 7-game series. I do not think this is Warriors in 4, Warriors in 5, that kind of thing. Now, if the Warriors go in and win game 1, and then the Kings fans start to think, we're playing the defending champs, and they look good, things can snowball. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And then, you don't win game 1, maybe you don't win game 2, and then we'll see where things sit there. But the thing that I keep coming back to is you got to play well if you're gonna win that series. There's no doubt about it. The 415 JD, the Kings resting and letting the Warriors win the other night reminds me of when Dallas did that in the We Believe year, and then the Warriors won at that point. Well, Dallas could have tried to knock them out. They didn't, and the Warriors got in, and then the Warriors beat them. So, yeah, this would be similar to that. And I think that is going to be something we haven't touched on in the last hour. And because it was so back and forth today, I mean, there were times today where it looked like the Clippers were going to lose to the Suns' backups. And that was going to mean Warriors-Phoenix, and that was going to mean the Clippers were going to be a play-in tournament team, although it wouldn't have now wound up being that way because Minnesota came back and won. But all afternoon long, the Pelicans were ahead until the fourth quarter, and so the Clippers couldn't manipulate it. But I think at that point, we kind of lost sight of the fact that you could make a case Mike Brown and the Kings, based on what they did the other night with their position all but locked in, was a loud and clear statement to the Warriors. It said, we want you guys. We want you guys over the Clippers. We want you guys over the Pelicans. We want you guys over the Lakers. We think we match up best against you. And I know Mike Brown said pregame on Friday, you don't worry about everybody else. You worry about yourself. And you're going to have to beat everybody if you want to be a championship team. It was a very high-level Warrior-like answer. Like, not worry about matchups and this and that or the other. But there's a part of me that wonders if maybe the Kings look at the Warriors and the season that they've had and see some vulnerabilities in them that maybe are a little bit more pronounced than some of these other opponents that the Kings could play. Now, I don't feel that way. I'm just making their case for them, potentially. If I'm the Kings, I'm bummed. Well, one, I'm happy because it's a playoff situation for the first time in 7 years, but I'm also bummed that it could have been, maybe the Pelicans or somebody like that, because it does kind of, it does. Look, you beat the Warriors, the defending champs, at the end of potentially a dynastic run, and all of a sudden maybe you're the new up-and-coming team, so there is some upside in that, and I do think this Kings team's going to be a formidable foe, but, I'd also be kind of thinking, man, you really want the defending champs right as they're playing a little bit better 8 out of the last 10, and they're getting healthy, and they're going to have a week to prepare and lock in on you, and they have all the playoff championship experience against a team that's going to be going through all of the firsts in their playoff run. It's going to be fascinating. There's no doubt about it. It's going to be fascinating stuff, and it's going to be just look out. It's going to be a lot of fun here, and I know there's a lot of people that listen to us that make the commute to and from Sacramento or somewhere in between. And I just can't wait. As somebody that grew up in Sacramento and covered the Kings for a long time coming out of college, still relatively young guy, but covered the Kings coming out of college and has covered the Warriors now since 2011. This is a lot of fun, and I can't wait for it and the analysis of all of it. And we're going to be breaking it down on the daily here on 95.7 The Game, leading you up to 5:30 on Saturday. Basically, the 6-day pregame show started an hour ago. The 6-day pregame show for Warriors Kings started an hour ago, and it's my pleasure to tip it off. I'm sure you'll be hearing from me throughout the course of the week on Westeiny and Guru, and probably Willard and Dibbs. And we'll have a couple of podcasts. I can promise you the Warriors Weekly podcast. Me and Steiny will do a preview pod between now and Saturday. Join me and Whitey Gleason on Saturday for Warriors This Week from 10 until 1. And I'm going to try to get some Sacramento guests and some Warriors guests on the Warriors Weekly podcast. We'll try to do one every day for about a half hour to let everybody get in tune with just how much this series is going to mean and how much fun it's going to be for all of Northern California. So we'll wrap it up on that note. We'll let everybody enjoy the rest of their Easter for those who observe and spend the time with the family, and we will reconvene from Golden One Center in Sacramento for Warriors Live. Tentatively scheduled for 4:30, although in the playoffs you never know. We may blow that thing up and go multiple extended pregame action from Sacramento. Stay tuned for that, but we'll talk to you Saturday as well on Warriors This Week. Thanks to Sterling Bennett. Thanks to everybody in our San Francisco studios. Excellent work by everyone all season long, cutting up the highlights and the post-game sound and all of that good stuff. I'm John Dickinson. I'll talk to you Saturday from Sacramento, but keep it locked here all week on your home for Golden State Warriors basketball as the Warriors play the Kings in the playoffs, and you'll hear it all right here on 95.7 The Game.
Attention facility professionals, property managers, and building owners. Earn free education credits and network with the top professionals by attending the West Coast Buildings and Facilities Management Conference this May 23rd and 24th at the Alameda County Fairgrounds in Pleasanton. Sponsored by BOMA, IFMA, ABC, and NECA. This event is your one-stop shop for all things buildings and facilities throughout the Bay Area. Register to attend today and receive free lunch and parking. This event is free for all qualified professionals. Register online at proexpos.com. That's PROEXPOS.com.
Growing a business brings pressure. Staying compliant and retaining top talent in challenging times. You feel stretched thin. Fortunately, there's Insperity. They put over 35 years of HR service and technology to work, offering my employees competitive benefit options while lightening my HR load. Engaged people empowered to be their best means overcoming obstacles. With Insperity, nothing seems impossible. Insperity, HR that makes a difference.
So, how's your research going?
Surprising! After I figured out the top-rated TVs in our price range, I went shopping for deals.
And who's the best?
It wasn't the internet, and it wasn't the warehouse club.
But?
It was video only. They had better deals on the Samsung, LG, and the Sony TVs that got the highest scores.
Better than online and at the club?